I never imagined my marriage would unravel the way it did. But looking back now, with the clarity only hindsight affords, I realized the warning signs had always been there. Subtle fractures in what seemed like a solid foundation, ones I chose to overlook. I kept reassuring myself that everything was okay, that we were okay. Zachary and I had been married for 4 years. On the surface, we appeared to live a steady, ordinary life, our small home comfortably worn in mismatched coffee mugs, a faded couch with stories in its cushions. We both had reliable jobs, and our days followed a predictable pattern that brought a sense of stability, if not excitement. We weren't the flawless, envy-inducing couple you'd scroll past on social media, but I believe what we had was genuine and lasting. Beneath that calm exterior, though, something was brewing, a tension I hadn't truly recognized until it was too late. And at the center of it, though I didn't realize it at the time, was Austin. Austin and I had known each other since college. Over 10 years of shared history. We'd pulled all-nighters cramming for exams, comforted each other through heartbreaks, and laughed until our stomachs ached over ridiculous inside jokes. There had been a brief romantic episode between us back then, a kiss, a short-lived fling that faded as quickly as it flared. It never meant much. At least, not to me. That chapter had closed long ago, replaced by years of platonic friendship. To me, Austin was a constant, a grounding presence in my life. He was familiar, safe, someone I trusted without question. But to Zachary, he represented something else entirely. A danger, a threat. At first, Zachary never voiced any strong objections. He was courteous when Austin came up in conversation, even friendly the few times they met. But gradually, I noticed a shift. A faint tension in his face when I mentioned Austin. A tightening of his jaw when I chuckled at one of Austin's texts. A stillness in his posture when I shared stories from our college days. I brushed it off, chalking it up to insecurity. I was married to Zachary, not Austin. I told myself he was being irrational, that his jealousy was misplaced and would pass in time. I never stopped to truly listen. Then came the tipping point. Austin invited me on a trip to Myrtle Beach, a reunion of old college friends. It wasn't some clandestine getaway, just a casual group vacation full of sun, drinks, and nostalgia. I was excited for the change of scenery, a break from the routine. I needed it. When I brought it up to Zachary, I expected maybe a half-hearted nod or even mild reluctance, but not what I got. His reaction was immediate and unyielding. "You're not going," he said. His tone was calm, but there was iron in his voice that caught me off guard. I laughed, assuming he was joking, until I saw the seriousness in his eyes. He laid it out, plain and firm. He didn't trust Austin's intentions. He said the history between us made him uncomfortable, that our friendship blurred boundaries he'd put up with for years, and this trip, this invitation, crossed a line he couldn't ignore. I was livid. Who was he to tell me what I could or couldn't do? I'd always taken pride in my independence. His reaction felt suffocating, controlling. I fired back, arguing that nothing was going on, that I needed this break, that he was blowing things out of proportion. And then he drew the line in the sand. "If you go," he said, "don't expect to come back to the same marriage." I wish I had stopped to really consider his words, to think beyond my pride. But I didn't. I took it as a dare, a challenge I couldn't back down from. That night, I packed my things. I kissed him goodbye, not tenderly, but with defiance, and I drove to Myrtle Beach. The trip was everything I expected at first. Laughter ringing down the shoreline, warm reunions, clinking glasses under string lights, and stories shared like no time had passed. Austin and I slipped easily back into our old rhythm. Playful teasing, inside jokes, deep conversations like nothing had changed. But something had changed. Somewhere between the sunsets and too many drinks, the air between us shifted. One evening, we found ourselves alone on the balcony. The others were inside, mid-drinking game, their laughter drifting through the screen door. The moonlight danced over the waves, and Austin and I sat close, reminiscing about the past, about roads not taken, moments lost to time. His gaze lingered longer than it used to. When our hands brushed, I didn't move away. Then he leaned in. Not quite for a kiss, but something intimate, something suspended between friendship and more. And I froze. I didn't kiss him, but I didn't pull back quickly either. Later, I told myself it was meaningless, just a fleeting, intoxicated lapse soaked in nostalgia. But deep down, I knew better. My heart recognized a line I'd tiptoed over, even if just barely. The following morning, still tangled in the remnants of the night before, I made another choice I'd soon regret. Austin and I snapped a photo together on the sand. Me in a bikini, his arm resting easily around my waist. Our faces lit up with careless grins, the kind that feel weightless in the moment. Without thinking, I uploaded it to Instagram with a caption that now haunts me, soaking up the good life. I didn't stop to consider what it might look like. Didn't think of Zachary. Didn't think at all. When I got back home, the silence inside our house was thunderous. Zachary's car sat in the driveway, but the man I loved was nowhere to be found. Our bedroom told the rest of the story. His side of the closet half empty, drawers pulled open, his keys missing. Most of his things had vanished. Panic surged through me as I dialed his number. When he finally answered, his voice was stripped bare, calm, but cold. "I'm done, Paisley," he said. "I saw the photo. You knew what this meant." I scrambled for words, tripping over explanations. I told him it wasn't what it looked like, that nothing had happened. But he didn't let me finish. "You made your choice. You disrespected me. You turned us into a joke." And just like that, the line went dead. I stared at my phone, numb. The weight of my actions crashed over me, sharp and relentless. And the fallout came quickly. Text messages, comments, whispers from people I hadn't heard from in years. "Seriously? You thought that was okay?" That post was so out of line. Poor Zach. He didn't deserve that. I deleted the picture, but it didn't matter. The damage had already carved itself into the foundation of everything we'd built. As for Austin, whatever moment had flickered between us during that night on the balcony, it died quietly under the weight of reality. There was no scandalous affair, no runaway romance. Just two old friends who crossed lines they shouldn't have. Lines that left wreckage in their wake. When Zachary returned weeks later, it wasn't with forgiveness. He came for closure. He looked different, worn down, older, like the light behind his eyes had dimmed. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. "I gave you my trust," he said. "I told you what I needed, and you chose to ignore it. I wasn't asking you to cut him off. I was asking for boundaries, for respect, and you tossed that aside." I tried to apologize, to tell him I never meant to hurt him, but he wasn't there to listen anymore. He turned and walked out, and this time he didn't come back. In the months that followed, I was left to sit in the stillness I had created, alone with my thoughts, with the guilt, with every decision that led to the end. I replayed it all on a loop. Every time I brushed off his concerns, every moment I put my pride before his pain. I thought I was standing up for myself, defending my independence. But in truth, I was pushing away the one person who stood beside me without fail. Through mutual friends, I heard Zachary had started therapy. It was helping, they said. He seemed lighter, more grounded. Eventually, he filed for legal separation. I didn't contest it. I couldn't. I had shattered something sacred, something no apology could ever truly mend. Looking back now, I see it with unflinching clarity. It wasn't just a photo or a trip. It was every silent moment when I could have chosen us and didn't. As for Austin, we faded apart. No words, no final conversation, just a slow drift into silence. There was never a future there, only a fleeting misstep that cost me everything. Zachary is gone now, and what I'm left with is a lesson learned the hardest way. Love isn't fueled by ego or defiance. It's built on mutual care, on trust, boundaries, respect. Somewhere along the way, I lost sight of all three.